Good day, my BC-250 friends. So, as you can see now, I'm playing at 1440p, medium settings, no upscaling. Not bad, right? Well, it looks not bad. Actually, I'm using now lossless scaling 4 times frame generation, and honestly, once you play in this setup, it's actually quite stuttery. It's just a tuning of the FPS counter. You can see the 1440p, no upscaling, medium settings. But this is not useless, because at some situation it can be useful, and I will show later when we can actually benefit from lossless scaling and how to set it up. In my previous video I was showing how to use DLSS enabler, which also allows frame generation, but some guys said that lossless scaling, the duck, works better. So now you can see the real FPS at 1440p medium settings, no upscaler, and let's see how to be able to install it and use on Bazzite. So of course, to be able to use lossless scaling, you need to purchase the application. But let's remember to run the Crimson Desert, as from 1st April you need to use Proton Experimental, and you need to set it up to the bleeding edge beta version. Like that, you don't need any launch commands. Here you can see in the settings you have to pick the bleeding edge, and as soon as you do it, you don't need any settings additional in launch options. The game will start and run well. So let's go to the game scope mode and install the plugin for lossless scaling. Alright, so first thing is, after you purchased the lossless scaling program, you need to install it. It's very simple. You have to find it in the Steam, buy and push install. After that, you will be able to install the plugin for Decky, which is going to give you a straight access in the game mode, and pick the Decky LSFG Vulkan. After that, you install the plugin, it will be fully operational. It is possible to call it by pushing Ctrl+2 or guide button and A in case you are using the Xbox style controller, or PS5 button and X. And after installation of the plugin, you need to reboot your system one more time. Once the system completed reboot, you have to access your Decky loader, and inside you will find Decky LSFG VK plugin. You need to click install. It will add the plugin to the system, and in order to activate it in the game, you need to insert launch options, which you can just click copy launch options and insert in any game. In our case, we're gonna test it with Crimson Desert. So, as I told you, we are using Proton Experimental. So now I'm gonna paste the additional command to the launch options, and then we're gonna start the game. Initially, I'm gonna test the game performance at 1080p without upscaling, on high graphical settings, without ray tracing, as currently it's not operational on AMD card in Linux. Actually, same way you can activate the lossless scaling for nearly any game in Steam or Bazzite. For a moment, as you see, on high settings, the BC-250 is able to render around 40 plus FPS. It works already quite well, absolutely playable. There are not so many stutters. The picture is clean, but by going to the option menu, Decky, and entering the plugin, on the top you have FPS multiplier. So you can choose 2, 3 or 4x and immediately you can see the FPS getting higher. Another thing I've noticed that by default the preset in the Decky lossless scaling frame generation plugin, there is one preset which we have to disable to be able to get VSync off. Because if you go to the settings, to the settings of the plugin, you will see present mode with VSync activated. So if you want to see higher FPS number and not to have VSync, you need to switch off this. So immediately you can see that FPS went from 40 plus to high 70s and at times 80s, and I cannot say that the game ran really smoother than at 45 plus FPS, but frame generation doing some work. Probably we are still limited by the BC-250 weak CPU, but probably there are some benefits which I cannot really confirm, because for me the game feels nearly the same as with 45 FPS. So let's try to go to 1440p and try how the game runs with 2 times frame generation and 1440p. And as you see, my FPS counter showing close to 60 FPS, but honestly the game feels same as when I switch off the frame generation. I have the same feeling that I have around 30 FPS or even less. So honestly, I don't really like this type of frame gen. We can go 3x, the number go higher, but I can feel that the frames are actually feels like more like 30 FPS, definitely not like 60 or 70. So I'm not sure if the lossless scaling frame generation is actually a placebo or it's giving any additional smoothness to the game. But yeah, I don't really find it very convenient to continue playing this way. Another thing I was trying to consider is to use FSR 4 for better image quality and lossless scaling frame generation to add some smoothness. So what I do, I'm now enabling DLSS enabler, patching the game, and adding to the DLSS enabler options, I'm gonna add the additional command to enable the lossless scaling frame generation on top of the DLSS enabler. So you will have to add following launch options. You will have to have command for DLSS enabler and additionally one more command for lossless scaling frame generation. So the final launch options command line should look like that, and let's see if any miracle will happen with FSR 4 and lossless scaling frame generation. Okay, I'm back in the game at 1080p, high settings, native. My favorite actually way of playing, 40 plus FPS. Picture is nice and clear, no fake frames for a moment. So let's switch on FSR 4, which dramatically improves the picture quality but cost significant amount of resources for our board, because we don't have a support of instructions required for FSR 4, even integer 8 FSR 4. That's why as soon as we enable the FSR 4, the quality improves, but FPS dramatically drops. So now I will add lossless scaling frame generation on top of FSR 4, and as you see, FPS counter immediately shows 80 FPS, which is supposed to be very smooth, but when I'm moving around, first of all I see a lot of artifacts from lossless scaling frame generation, which slightly improves with the time. Looks like the system learns a little bit, learning the picture, and after some time artifacts diminished, but I still don't have a smoothness of my native FPS. So even when my counter shows 50, 60, 70, 80 with lossless scaling, it actually feels like even worse when I run natively the game. So you could see when I'm turning around that it feels like 25 FPS. It doesn't feel smooth at all, and honestly, despite having nice number on FPS counter, the game feels really stuttery. Additionally, I have some artifacts, and I'm not able to enjoy the game at this condition. And I'm gonna disable now the FSR 4, and you will see immediately how better the game runs without FSR 4. Okay, so now I still have 2 times frame gen enabled, but FSR 4 is off and it's much more smoother, and yeah, like that it's still playable, although I still think that running the game natively at 45 FPS is better than having 70 FPS with frame generation on, because probably it's also consume some resources from the GPU, which we have very limited resources, and I don't really have any benefit of having the frame generation on right now. But there is one condition which I found it's still usable, so I'm gonna show you now. Alright, I'm back again with new preset, and you can see now actually the game running relatively smooth and the picture is relatively crisp. But I'm running now at 1440p with FSR 3.1 on performance preset, and I'm adding 2 times lossless scaling frame generation on top of it. So right now it's playable. I have minimum artifacts. You can see the settings, and actually it looks acceptable to play and complete the game in this condition at 1440p, FSR at performance, 2 times frame gen. However, I still think that these fake frames are not really worth our attention, because I could disable the frame generation and have same smooth gameplay without any issues, 40 plus FPS at 1440p, FSR 3.1 on performance preset. So it's up to you. Now you know how to use it. You can play. Maybe you can find some best settings, some sweet spot for your preference. But for me, the FPS counter now showing 120 FPS. It's nice to present to someone, although the game honestly runs same as it's just 40 or even less, because the frame generation still consume resources. So I'm the old school guy. I think that all this frame generation is a big hype, and we need to try to adjust the settings of the game to run natively, and all this FSR is only our last options when we really cannot render natively, which in case of Crimson Desert it works quite okay. It works fine natively at 1080p high settings, and I wouldn't bother to use frame generation for this game. But it's always matter of the specific game. Maybe other game will benefit from using lossless scaling frame generation. It will be more enjoyable. You have to find out it by your own. It's playable. It looks nice, and now when we have the possibility to install the plugin and use it nearly with any game, it's nice additional tool which can allow us to tune our system and make our gameplays more enjoyable. As for now, I'm finished for today. I hope it was useful for you. It's very basic process, and probably many of you guys already found out how to do it even before this video. But for the guys who are new to the Linux, for the guys who are new to BC-250, it might be useful. So thank you for watching, and see you soon again. Bye bye.